Hello, and welcome to Talk.Therapy.Heal, where a group of licensed professionals engage in curated conversations about everyday life. But not only that, we share tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a better you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kenny King.
Hey, I'm Rachel Logan.
Hey, Larisha Perlow.
Hey, I'm Yanika Willis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chantrell King, and we welcome you back, like Larisha said, to another episode of Talk Therapy Heal. Listen, clutch your pearls for this one. It seemed like each episode we go deeper and deeper.
Wait a minute, what our pastor say? Buckle up for safety.
Okay, buckle up for safety. So what we're going to be speaking about in this episode of Talk Therapy Heal is daddy and mommy issues. Prepare yourself accordingly.
Yeah.
Daddy and mommy issues.
Yeah.
How that carries over from being a child into adult life.
Man,
Let's get it.
That's loaded.
Very.
Very loaded.
I mean, it can affect so many different areas of our lives, like so many. So I guess I have a lot to say about this, but I'm gonna throw these topics or these ways in which it manifests in adulthood out there. Attachment patterns. And so when we talk about attachment, secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and we'll get more into depth on what that looks like and what that means. It shows up with low self-esteem, and identity issues, intimacy and relationships, how you communicate and handle conflict resolution, parenting practices, like what type of parent are you now that you have mommy and daddy issues, emotional regulation. Are you even able to regulate your emotions? Do you even know what your emotions are? Boundaries and autonomy, not even having boundaries and not even really truly knowing who you are as a person. And then seeking closure and healing, like how to even figure out how to resolve those issues. It's a lot. And we see it all in the therapy room.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that people, they'll come in with, what I call a surface issue. And when we really dig down and get to the root of it, get to the root counseling. When we dig down and get to the root, it's all with the foundation, mommy and daddy issues, how they were raised, what they were taught, that foundational stuff. And it goes deep.
So I look at it like a wound.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, if we could take it to the medical side, right? It's a wound. It's a piercing event, situation, circumstance that happened in childhood that has been carried over into adulthood. And so the wound is potentially oozing, is potentially spilling over into the bloodstream. And when I say bloodstream, I'm talking about into your kids.
Wow.
But it's a wound. And if it's not tended to, it could continue to fester, infect the whole body, right? Family.
Everything.
It's a wound.
It's a wound. That's one of the things I would say, and I always use that analogy too with clients when they're talking about not wanting to address certain things. Right? You think of a cut. If you don't tend to that cut or you just try to put a Band-Aid over it and it goes too deep, it sets up an infection. And that infection then starts to infect other parts of your body and cause other harm or harmful things to your body. And again, like you said, spilling over into that bloodline, being the children. Now this wound that you just tried to put a Band-Aid over that is bleeding and oozing is infected. It's causing all kind of turmoil within your life. All kind of things are happening within you, and now it's affecting your children.
That's one thing, as I'm listening to you all thinking about this from a relational issue, one of the things that I always tell my clients is that we may have to explore back into your childhood, because a lot of times when individuals, I feel, come to counseling, and even when I used to go to counseling, when I would go to counseling, it's like, you think it's just this. It's just this issue. My husband is this, my husband is that, being that I'm relational. Oh, why my husband? Because see, my daddy, I'll give a good example. An individual who daddy puts the daughter on a pedestal as a princess. And like how we like to say in the country, her feet never touched the ground. That means she was spoiled rotten. And then you then get into a relationship with a man and you expect him to be just like your daddy. Now, daddy provided, he was there, or whatever the case may be, but not really understanding that this man is not your dad. So daddy gave me everything I wanted. When I want something, daddy would give me $300, $500, a brand new car. Daddy never said no. So then when you're dating someone, I'm like, no, that doesn't seem reasonable. Or married, that doesn't seem reasonable. And or the biggest part that I've seen a few times, daddy passes away. So now it's like my safety blanket, Linus. Was that Linus with that little stinky blanket on Charlie Brown? Sorry, y'all. Look, because it looked like you have little flies and steam coming from it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a visual person, much like Nikki, like she said. So it made me think about that. But your security blanket is no longer here. So how do I operate? And I'm sure not going to go for anybody telling me no. And I've seen a lot of people, women in this situation, that I can't function. So the depression, the anxiety, all the things coupled with grief, because I still haven't properly grieved my dad, who was my safety blanket. So it's people, I think when it comes to daddy and mommy issues, that it's just something that's trivial. Oh no, that's not real.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can tell you that it is.
Yeah, it's real.
So as you listen to this episode, and we have agreed that we're not going to rush through this because it is so loaded, listen and examine yourself. And ask yourself, is this me? Write it down. If you're in therapy, write it down. This may help your therapist get to a deeper level to be able to assist you. So go ahead.
No, I think even within this episode, when we're talking about mom and daddy issues, we have to look at it. It's a plethora of different things that are out there. It can be someone that loses a parent early on and that person treated them a certain way. It could be dealing with abuse. It can be dealing with neglect. All of that can lead to mommy daddy issues, which of course leads to how that individual interacts with other individuals as they get older. A good example could be like a young lady that people say has daddy issues. Well, daddy was never really in her life all the time. He was in and out. And so therefore she longed for attention from him. And as she gets older, then she longs for the attention of other men. And even though they come and go, that's all she knows. So she's willing to accept that men coming in and out of her life because it's exactly what daddy did. And that's why I think a lot of times people look at that saying, I know we say it in the country all the time, just wait. When it comes time to you to get married, you go marry your mama or your daddy.
Yeah. And what about boys who have daddy issues? Because I'll just be honest, when I think about daddy issues, I always think about a little girl. I guess because I'm a woman, but a little girl with her dad. But what about the little boy with his dad who is not in his life? So when he grows up, he's not in his own children's life because that's what it's a learned behavior. It was the absence of his father. So I guess that's how men are. Now I should be asking for my kids' life.
Yeah, but it can also go the opposite. And I'll be an open book and kind of use myself. My father was not in my life. And the daddy issues that I got for that is that I overcompensated for everything I was trying to do with my kids. Because I didn't know what it was like to have him show up at a football game. I tried to go to everything that my kids and still do it. It's just what it is. And so, you have a lot of young men out there, their father wasn't there. So in their mindset, I can have a child and I don't have to be there either. I'm going to treat the girlfriend, the mother, whatever, I'm going to treat her a certain way because that's how my daddy treated Yeah.
Ooh, and
Unless wounded.
right. And I was thinking about too, because it seemed like what we're doing now is unloading examples for you.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about too, so thinking about situations where again, and not, I don't want anybody to think she always talking about single parents. I was one. So that's not digging at anybody. But thinking about a single mom who has just a son, and as the son grows up, she's there for them. She does everything for him and whatever. He's like her world. But now he goes and get into a marriage, and it's always like, no, he's the man. He's the man. And you know, oh, you're going to be the man because the man is not present for whatever reason. And so it's always, regardless of, you're supposed to leave and cleave. That's the word, leave and cleave. But then the mom may be like, oh, yeah, you still my boy, you still my dog, however she talks to her son. And then he goes and get married, and now it's an issue in him and his wife's marriage because my mama come first.
Right.
I don't care what you said. My daddy left me. My daddy wasn't there for me. My mama come first. And where the wife is now feel like, and she has to compete, and she's the wife, leave and cleave. So that's something that I see a lot of as well, to the point where he may tell it, no, you don't come before my mama. So then what do you do when mama's no longer here? Because mama was your world.
Yeah.
So thinking about healthy ways to recover healthily, healthily, I don't know, from my daddy and mommy issues. I'm trying to, what is another thing y'all have seen or scenario based?
I think, I think when the dad overworks, because you can see that, like I think about TV shows or of like the father's always working, or even with clients, like where their father worked a lot and they wasn't at home, or the father moved away to support the family.
Yeah.
Now that person dealing with abandonment issues because though dad was doing the right thing or mom was doing the right thing, but you left me. So now, you provided for me financially, but I don't have that emotional connection with my parents. So now I'm abandoned, even though you were providing. Oh, that takes me to the whole thing when I mentioned about the attachment patterns of what we're taught from a child, like to have that healthy attachment where the parents are present, they're involved, they're there, they're making sure that the kids have the the needs, the hierarchy needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where all of the things are provided. They are able to have a secure attachment in a relationship, and so the way it shows up for them is like they know how to set boundaries. They know how to say yes to things that they need to say yes to and say no to things that they need to say no to. So it's healthy for them. But for those who are feeling abandonment, that anxious attachment comes into play. They're insecure, fears abandonment, often seeking validation because they didn't have that parent there to validate them, to tell them that I'm here for you, like showing up for you. Nobody ever showed up for them. And then you have the person who is avoidant, because nobody was there, nobody showed any interest. So now they, the closer you become to them, the more distant they are. They run away. They're irritable, angry, and even rude. They become rude because nobody has ever taught them how to regulate those emotions, going even into that, to regulate those emotions, to say, okay, I can be here for you, or I don't have the capacity to be here for you. Kids, and this, we talked about this a little earlier, kids, when they see things, they formulate in their mind the narrative for that situation without having the proper guidance or the proper knowledge or information. They create a narrative that is always negative. And it doesn't say that, oh, my parents love me. No, it say my parents don't love me. Right. Nobody loves me. And so then they go seeking. We talked about this in an earlier episode, where we have to be careful of what we're doing and how we're communicating with our kids, because it pushes them out to go seek that from other people. So not being there, and I want to make sure I throw this one in there too, the disorganized attachment style is a partner is often behaving in a way that ends up pushing their partner away because they're expecting their partner to hurt them. So if you've had children who've been hurt by a parent, they expect, because that's my foundation. Oh, so that's what people do. They hurt you. So now let me protect myself. And that protection is I ain't going to get close to you. Or I ain't going to let you get close to me. Close enough to where you can hurt me again because I'm in protection mode. So let me hold you off.
And build up that wall.
Build that wall up. And that wall becomes so tall. And I always tell my clients, I say, you might have that wall to protect you, but remember, you can't get out either.
Yeah. Or let nobody in.
You
surrounded
Yes.
by their own
fears. By their own fears. Yes.
So let's dig a little deeper
Okay.
and talk about the parent.
Okay.
And so let's just say we're talking about emotionally immature parents.
Emotionally immature parents.
Yeah. I mean, does that even go together? I mean, think about it. You know,
Some more.
emotionally immature parent. So it's a parent that lacks the ability to fulfill a child's emotional needs. Now we know we have, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but emotional needs, you know what I mean? Really, it impacts how a person sees themselves, and not only that, but how they show up.
Yeah.
Right, and connect in the world. But these emotionally immature parents, they lack empathy. There's a lack of support. There's an inability to hear and validate the child's feelings, of which we've kind of said a lot of today. But not only that, they're led by their emotions, unstable, inconsistent, and unpredictable. And so their interactions with their kids are like fragmented. Do we need an example?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it.
Let's just say little Johnny. Hey, Johnny. Let's just say little Johnny, is in school and is being bullied. Right? Comes home, tells dad that he's being bullied. Well, rather than dad coming to little Johnny and saying, hey, what can I do to help you? What can I do to support you? What do you need from me? Or how can, dad help you out? Dad bullies little Johnny, calls names, maybe name calling, or, because he's a little boy, man up. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Right. So fragmented interactions. So the kid didn't get what he needed in that moment. Yeah. Immature, emotionally immature parents, they are reactive and defensive.
Right.
Reactive
And
and defensive.
Me.
I'm going to let that set just for a moment.
Yeah.
Man.
Reactive and defensive.
I feel like that's one of those moments that you pause and ask yourself, are you reactive and defensive?
Yeah, was your mother or father reactive or defensive to you when you would come and bring them issues? I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. I remember like when my kids would get hurt. It's so weird, y'all. So I'll be honest, when they would get hurt or they would come with a problem, I would get angry. And I recognize, I'm like, why am I angry that they are hurting? It's because I didn't know how to like help them, right? Because sometimes their situation was too big or whatever, or I couldn't resolve the pain. And so I just feel like, man, I'm just reflecting in real life, in real time. Like, man, it was because I couldn't help them. And so if you're emotionally immature all the time and your kids are coming to you often, mommy, I need this, daddy, it could be financial reasons, right? Like, I need some new shoes. I got this project, and you emotionally, immature because you can't afford it, and you just pop off, you cuss at them, you yell at them, and just look at that cycle. And then they get older and
they repeat probably.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's really coming to my mind as I hear you all speak, and please let me know if y'all have seen this as well in your practices, is that when we get to the root as we speak about, we often laugh because that's her practice name. So if y'all wonder why we get to the root, that's the name of her practice. But as we get to the root, this is what I find with a lot of adults is that it is hard for them to identify that their mom or dad was the problem.
Yeah.
Because in our cultures, a lot of our cultures, it's like a haze, you just haze and glaze over that. And so we get it. We get it because we hear this often said, well, my mom and dad did the best that they could with what they had. True. Absolutely true. Nobody is disputing that. They did the best that they could with what they had. But it was when you were speaking about an emotionally immature parent, and because one exercise may be, okay, is your parents still, living? And then we have other exercises that we do if they're not. Empty chair, different things like that. But is your parents still, well, how about what would it look like for you to go and have a conversation with your mom about how you feel? Oh, no. No, I can't. No. Are you trying to get me cussed out? My mama would do blah, 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 blah. And then that goes to the generations. I can't wait until we get ready to do that show. But it goes to the generations and different Gen Zs, X, Ys, and elemental Ps. They act different ways. And so it's like, okay, or the client will get offended. How dare you say my mama? My mama was a single parent who raised 10 kids by herself. And okay, that's not what I asked. How can we as therapists walk alongside you to heal, which is what you desire to do, if you're not willing to at least address or identify that, no, my mom or my dad was the issue. Yes, ma'am.
You can't. This is what I was thinking. You feel like you can't do it because of the title, mother and father, right?
Wow.
So I believe if you remove the title of mother, father, and look at the person, then it can be easier for you to go and address the issue.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
So because then you realize they're human. They're human beings that are flawed, that are emotionally immature, and then you're able to like look at the facts of like how they treated me. And if you're in a relationship with someone who mistreats you, and like just say no title, you say, you know what, I don't need to be in that relationship, or I'm going to put up boundaries in that relationship. Right. And so I would suggest, if you're reflecting, remove the titles and look at the facts. How do they treat me, or how did they treat me?
That's really good. And you have to understand why that's so powerful, especially in some cultures. You say something about somebody's mom and daddy.
That's fighting words.
Especially mom.
Yeah, fighting words. And so the client may already be on guard, and they get very offensive because you've just said something about the person that brought me into this world, provided for me the best they could, whatever the case may be. And now you may have to go back and do even extra work to build that trust and that relationship and rapport with the client. And they're still sitting there looking at you like, I don't care what he's saying about that. I'm about to wear him out, because they just did that. Now, I want to propose this question. Is this necessarily mommy-daddy issues when you have a mother or father that lives vicariously through their children?
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I say that, just imagine this in your mind, if you will. You have a father. He was everything in high school, but really stood out in football, had multiple state rings from winning championships. And here comes the son along, and he's a decent sized young man, but he's just not football material. He can't catch, he can't tackle, he's not run. He just wants to go into the arts or whatever that thing is. But dad is trying to force him to go that route, and the damage that does to that young man.
So you're saying that the child, it's not the child, it's the parent who's experiencing mommy daddy issues, but then carrying it over to trying to live through their child.
Trying to live through their child, and what does it do to that child? What attachment does that style does that give that child? I'm
almost curious as to what's missing or what's happening with the parent to why they would want to vicariously. So what part of that mommy daddy issue do you have that you're now trying to live through your child? Is it that you didn't feel like you could live up to the standards or what it is that your parents had for you, and so now you're trying to force that on your child? Like, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It is generational. And that was one case that I had seen. And this was way before I became a counselor.
Young man, I mean, smart as a whip. Could have went to any school he wanted to go through, but mom and dad was pushing him to say, go to Harvard, go to Harvard, go to Harvard, go to Harvard. He's like, that ain't where I want to go. I want to go to MIT. No, you're going to Harvard. Why? Well, that's what me and daddy wanted to go to. We couldn't, but you have the opportunity, so that's where you're going. And the young man ended up killing himself because he's like, I can't live up to their standard. That's not what I want to do in my life. And so that presents to me in the area of work that I've been in, and I continue to kind of revolve around in a sense, is that sometimes these individuals that have these mommy and daddy issues, if you can't catch that early, yes, it goes on into their adulthood and sometimes even their teenage years before they get to be adults. And it leads to suicide because I can't live up to my mom and dad's expectations. Or I can't believe the fact that my mother kept me for 2 years, then gave me up to somebody and just walked out of my life. Now I'm incomplete. I don't know who my mother is, therefore the identity part, I don't know who I am. And that's that part that really sets with me, is that all of this to lead to that point where a person says, you know what, I'm done.
Wow. Let the silence sink in.
But I'm glad Kenyon brought that up because, and this is like off camera conversation that I haven't even had with them yet. That's what I see, the struggle nowadays. And I try to ask myself, and I'm still wondering, and maybe there's some, I know we got a lot to cover, but there are so many children struggling. And there are so many parents our age that's under that pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality. Right. You're being soft. I'll give a case in point where I have conversation with people about this all the time. And I'll just say the military, for example. Now they talking about implement a draft, and they're talking about, and this still kind of goes with it. They're talking about implement a draft, but then you have like a father who, I went into the Army. Your grandfather went into the Army, your great-grandfather, and they bringing out all these pictures, and the child's like, I just want to go to college. I like IT. And so now what I'm seeing kind of parallel with what Kenya's speaking about, there are so many children that are struggling and at the point of taking their own life as a solution because I can't talk to my mom and my dad. They're a certain way because whatever they have in their mind. And so they belittle me. Like, you were saying, I try to come and mommy and daddy, because what are children taught, especially in school? You have any issues, go to your parents. But when your parents are being, let me go back, hold on, because I wrote it down, emotionally immature, how is a child? And so now what I'm hearing is a lot of our generation, not trying to date ourselves because we're still young, but a lot of our generations who's like, you're soft. They're punks. Why are you not signing up for the military? Why are you not? Oh, they don't. You see it on social media. They don't want to go in, but no one ever stops to ask the child, what is it? That's right. What do you see? So for example, military child, I mean, our children, we gave them options, but it's because you had to do something. You're not just going to sit up here. So you had to do something, but it's like, why blame the next generation? For example, right now that's in the news, the president may propose a draft and all this kind of stuff. Why are these lazy children? So now you're not only talking about your children, you're lumping all these children in. To say that they're lazy, but you're the parent. You're emotionally immature. So why would you put that on the entire generation and not think that they're smart enough to say, I never seen my parent. So why would I want to get married and put my child through that? I know how I felt. No one ever stopped to hear someone's story.
Yeah, I think that's it. Real talk.
So I ain't mean to sum it up, but it irritates me because these children are struggling. And parents, it seems like nowadays, because of whatever mommy, daddy issues that they refuse to heal from, you then in turn project unhealthily onto your child. And now there's a disconnect and a strain. They can't even come to you. So pause. Rachel says, pause. If you're a parent, ask yourself, can your child come to you and speak to you openly and share their heart without your judgment?
Without the judgment.
Yeah.
Without the judgment.
What I'm here, because I just transparency moment for me. I can remember growing up, and there were certain things that I felt like I can say to my mom or talk to her about, but it's like as you getting older and you're watching them go through their things, and you feel like they have too much on them, that they, and even then, like it wasn't, the platform wasn't presented, or it wasn't there for you to say, you know what, I might be experiencing this, but still come to me and talk to me. It's like you had that one talk. You can tell me anything, but then your actions don't show that I can tell you anything.
Yes.
So then when I'm experiencing something, but I know you are going through something, I'm not going to bring my stuff to you. So I'm going to hold it in and I'm going to try to figure it out within myself, or I'm going to go to people who are not going to provide the necessary things that I really need. They're going to give me wrong information, but because they are there to listen and I feel comfortable, I'm not going to be judged, or I'm not going to feel like I'm putting more on them. I take it to someone else, or again, I internalize it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like just going through that and raising our kids, I used to say some of the same things, but then I had to check myself. And it was when, and thank God my kids were still younger, that when I found myself and I was like, Nikki, you're repeating it. You say your kids can come to you, but you're around here stressed out because of that Superwoman. I had that cape on. Go watch the show. I had that cape on. And so I didn't allow for them the opportunity to really come and talk to me because I was doing too many other things. And so I'm trying to cook dinner and you come ask me a question and I'm barely listening to you. And let me break this down.
Please.
Yes. And let me help y'all.
Help the people.
When we talk about I'm a multitasker, no, you're not. No, you're not. You are not giving yourself 100% to anything if you're trying to juggle 2 and 3 things at one time. Because if you're cooking, your child is trying to ask you a question and you're trying to watch something on TV, ain't nothing getting 100% of your time. You are not a great multitasker because something is falling through the cracks. Either you're going to burn that dinner, you're going to miss what was said on TV, or you ain't going to pay no attention to what that kid just told you. And right then and there, what is happening, that kid is identifying or connecting rejection.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rejection. You didn't listen to me. I wasn't important enough for you to pause your time to listen to me. And I know I'm going kind of all over with this because I had a place where I wanted to go with this and how I was doing and raising our children and talking to them. I would say those things, you could tell me anything, but I had to ask myself, are you emotionally mature enough to receive what they have to say? That's it. I have responded to my kids in some aspects in a very immature, emotional way. And when I saw them, dang, I had to fix it. I had to go back and apologize. And that's something that a lot of adults will not do because they don't feel like the kid is warranted that, but they are a human just like you are. If you feel like somebody wronged you and said something bad or wrong to you, you would want an apology. Give that to those kids because they deserve it. I have gone back and apologized to my kids for several things because even the other day, I asked my daughter, we were driving in a car, and I asked her, I said, when you talk to me, when you ask me something, do you feel like I give you 100% of my undivided attention? And she said for a minute, she thought about it, and she was like, yeah, you do. You pay attention. That's reflection. Right. I want to check in and make sure, am I really showing up in the capacity that I say I want to show up in? Because I was raised to
hear up and not hear.
Talk. Yes, talking at them instead of to them. I remember not being heard.
Children
to be seen and not heard. So a lot of times when my mom would say that, I sometimes want to tell her, and then I think I have told her this, and she gonna watch this, so we're gonna have to talk about it.
How you doing?
She would always say, I feel like I allowed you all to talk to me about everything, but sometimes she wasn't emotionally available for everything. So everything wasn't discussed. And maybe she wasn't emotionally available for everything because, again, she had all her stuff going on. And I just remember all of the things. My mom had problems with her health when we were younger. So I want to make sure you're okay. And this is the mindset of a kid.
Yes.
So if I'm going through something, I can't put this on you.
Right.
Because you're going through too much right now. And what I feel like I'm going through it's trivial. Even though it's important to me, I feel like it will be trivial to you. So I'm not going to say anything. And so then again, raising my kids like that, but having to go back and apologize for a lot of those things to make sure that whatever it is that you feel like you need to say to me, say it. Say it without retribution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who may be going through mommy daddy issues, if they're working through things, especially with their therapist, the idea of reframing
Yes.
is going to be the key.
Yeah.
Is to potentially let that person know, well, say the statement that you just said again. Oh, my mom didn't love me because she left me. Oh, does that really mean that she didn't love you? Could she have been leaving you with somebody because she was unable to provide, protect, care for, nurture? She was trying to get in a position where she could do that. That does not necessarily mean that she didn't love you. She was going through some tough times, and she did what she had to do out of love, care, respect, whatever, to make sure that you were taken care of.
Yeah.
Let's think about that for a moment. And then allowing that person to sit in there, because all too often we develop ideas in our head. And the minute we develop, we're just going to stick with that. Oh, you hate me because you wouldn't buy me the prom dress that I wanted. No, I don't hate you.
Right.
You just don't realize there ain't enough money in the bank account to get you the dress that you want.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's what helps a lot of individuals with some of these mommy daddy issues, depending on what they are, to really go back and take a look at what really occurred and bring that into the present so you can see what it really is.
Like you said, you both are saying really good things, and I think about the root of it is rejection.
Yes.
The root of it is that, for whatever reason they were unable to meet my need, or I was dismissed, but it wasn't like personal. It's because, like you said, what was going on in their world. And I think I just want to encourage people, as you are processing your mommy daddy issues, like consider how were they raised?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's true, it is generational. Like how were they raised? Who was in their life? Were they rejected? What was going on in their world at that present moment? Because I'm looking at, now I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine all the things that my mom was going through. She wasn't super busy because she didn't want me around. She was super busy because she was providing. Right? She was super consumed because she was making sure all of our needs were met. So as you are reflecting, like just examine, like just pause and reflect on what was going on in my mom and dad's world at that time. Were they going through a divorce? Did they just find out that their spouse was cheating on them? Were they being beat, and they wasn't able to be emotionally available to me because, man, she just got in a fight last night. She was trying to protect us from this man or this woman, so just consider what was going on in their world.
That's a key to healing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the facts.
It's not personal.
The facts. Yeah.
But I feel like that's where it comes in, though, that parents have to be willing to communicate that to their children, because how will I know that you're experiencing all of these things if you don't tell me? And I'm not saying to sit your 8-year-old down and tell him that mommy is feeling like this because daddy just did something. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Emotionally immature parents.
Yes.
They're overly shared.
Yes, that's definitely emotionally. Please, let's not do that. But I think at some point, in order for me to understand that you did what you did the way that you did, is for you to communicate to me or communicate with me. And I think what we're hearing in the counseling room with a lot of clients is that they don't feel comfortable enough, even as an adult now, to go back and have those conversations with their parents because their parents are still emotionally unavailable or immature, and so they can't have those types of conversations with them to actually find out or see. So now here we are as therapists in the therapy room trying to reframe something based on what may have been the truth and not the real truth. And that's what I think a lot of clients, or even there's conflict with that, because they're like, well, no, you wasn't there. You weren't there. You didn't know how she was. She would do this. She would say that. And I'm just like, again, trying to reframe that thing so that, well, could it be possible that mama or daddy experienced the same thing that they took you through?
It's granting them mercy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me
share.
Oh, go ahead. No. You go.
Well, I usually share with my clients, maybe they didn't know
Right.
You know, they
Right.
were unaware that
Right.
they, you know what I mean, made you feel
Feel
this
that way.
way.
Mhm.
But my client wants, no, they need to take some accountability.
Mhm.
But if they
It's-
don't know, you know what I mean, then how can they,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, take accountability? So you got to present it,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, to them.
Yes.
Yes.
What I was going to ask was this. So what do you do in the case where the parent knows?
Mm-hmm.
So you have emotionally immature Reti
Mm-hmm.
coupled with manipulation. So what I mean is this, because seeing some of the clients, you know, that come to the room, I remember having a case, something similar to this, but it's like, it's kind of like, I'm going to take the attention off of me and put it on you.
Mhm.
So let's go to, let's say something happened with a child. The child was getting beat, okay, physically abused, and how in school they used to teach us, you know, if you don't feel like, then go to an adult that you can trust, and usually as a teacher. So listen to what we're saying. So you go to your parent and you're like, well, mommy, for example, mommy, when you leave, your husband beats on me. And we've seen a lot of cases of that in the news with women meeting a random boyfriend or whatever, and then the child come up, God forbid, missing or no longer alive. However, so say that the mom then gets upset because you're making me look bad. Even though you came to me, you're being taught, a child is being taught in school, go to an adult that you can trust. I trust my teacher, Miss Smith, for example. Then I tell Miss Smith, and then of course, Miss Smith got to get CPS involved and all that. Mama's then mad at the child. The child may be 10, 11 years old, but instead of, as you were saying, taking personal responsibility, then, so the family won't be looking at me crazy, the mom placed the blame all on the child.
Mhm.
But the child came to you first. And so I believe that's why when we were talking about in previous shows, people who you said it, they go inwards. They internalize. I can't share things. So we talking about mommy daddy issues. I shared with my mommy. I did what was right. I did what was, but not only did my mom get mad, now she's blaming me that my siblings could be potentially taken. Plus, on top of that, she got my family looking at me. So now I'm the black sheep.
Oh, when you internalized and you went to mama, you did the right thing, and now these children grow up and they think that they can't make good decisions.
Right.
I am not a good decision maker.
And they don't
Wow.
trust people.
And
The
for
Trust
themselves.
issues.
Yeah.
Or they don't trust
Yeah.
Themselves. Right.
So again, I can't trust myself to make a good decision because I did what y'all said was right.
Right.
And I went and told an adult, and now she took and turned that on me and made me think that I feel like I did a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I must not
It
be.
must be me. I'm the
then
problem.
you become a people pleaser.
There you go.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I did everything to do to make you happy.
Right.
Right. And so
that you don't reject me, you don't get mad at me, you don't fuss at me, you don't curse at me.
And now I'm in a marriage with no voice.
And now I'm
And being
now,
emasculated.
listen, but then now I'm working and I don't take time off.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I don't say what I need.
Yeah.
Because now we became a people pleaser.
And it all came from the rooted seed of mommy and daddy.
So God, you got to look at the root. Where did it first happen?
And if you look at this, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe it's just the way my brain works. Every topic that we've been talking about lately is just starting to blend and kind of weave in between all this. So you have an individual who's got mommy daddy issues that leads straight up into an individual having that Superman, Superwoman complex. They won't do self-care. I mean, can you see how can y'all see how this can spiral out of control if we don't get to the root of something as soon as we possibly can? That is no different than you walking outside your garden and seeing that that's some grass that popped up. If you don't pull that sucker up by the root, it's going to keep growing, then it's going to overtake your garden. And therefore, the fruit won't be able to get all the nutrients it needs to be able to bear the good fruit that you need to
And
bear.
the fruit dies.
Yes.
And the fruit dies. How many people show up in that therapy room dead?
Say that one more time and a little louder.
How many people show up in that therapy room dead?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And this is why it's so good to get wise counsel.
Yes.
Yes.
This is why it's so good to come to therapy. So you can live again.
Oh my God.
Because most healthy therapists can revitalize you.
Yes.
Can bring life into that room, that can give you tips and hope and strategy. Because you're right, they come in lifeless.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And I think they come in lifeless because they've done everything that they know how to do.
That's right.
And so now this may be their last ditch effort. I need to do something before I get to the point where suicide is an option, alcohol, another type of addiction, whatever the case may be. And they have to understand that, yes, we're there to help, but you're going to have to do some work.
Yes.
And you got to be honest with us. And you're going to have to like open up, because if you block us, it's harder. We have to work harder. And I'm just like this. I've learned this from someone who is my supervisor, really makes me work at this. You got to do more work than I'm going to have to do. I'm just saying. And I think when an individual gets that breakthrough, it's a relief for them.
Yeah.
I don't have to walk around with this on my shoulders anymore, because guess what? Maybe I wasn't the issue. And I'm not laying blame on you. You were going through your own things, but it just put a number of things in order for things to play out. And now I understand that whole pattern a lot better. And now I know how to navigate life better because I went through this journey to get at the root.
You know, not the issue. I just want to. I want to just reiterate this. You are not the issue.
Yeah.
You are not the issue. I was sitting up thinking about this, listening to y'all speak. So earlier, you had made mention about how individuals want their parents, I think it was Larisha actually, to take personal responsibility. You did this, you did this. And so I'm thinking about how now being an adult, whether your parent is still living or not, but being an adult and some of the things that you've done, but sometimes we're not willing to take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
I want you to do it, but I'm not willing to do it of the things. But you had made mention where you caught yourself like, wait a minute, I'm repeating the same pattern. I don't want to put too much on it. So I say for me, Shan, are you repeating as a parent the same dysfunctional patterns that you don't like? Parents, if you're listening, again, can your child just come and sit down and talk to you? How often do you check in with your child? Do you only talk to your child when something bad happens? Are you more reactive instead of being proactive? Are you guilty? And this is not to bag the parents, but are you guilty of you being over here on your device like we was talking about on the previous show and they're on theirs? But it's not until somebody, a stranger, that knocked on their window that they've been talking to for the past 8 to 10 months, and they then left, and now you don't know where they are.
Right.
Oh my God.
So what I hear you say is time. It is, you have time.
Yes.
You have time to fix it. You have time to address these issues. You have time to get to the root of it. You have time and resources to help you do it, so you don't do it alone, because it can be overwhelming to admit. You know, it can be, I mean, just, it can take you back. And a lot of people are afraid to go there because they are afraid, like, I can't come back, or it might be so overwhelming that I would fall into pieces, because they built themselves up so much with their wall to be that support for them. But it is, you have time. That's what I want you to know. You have time to fix this. You have time to address these concerns. And I want to bring up this one point from a spiritual perspective. When you have mommy daddy issues, it makes it harder for you to connect with God the Father.
Yes.
Because you see him the same way
that you see
your mother and father, you know, so you can't connect, you don't trust him.
Let me go get the oil.
I want to share
Sprinkle,
this with you,
sprinkle.
and I wrote about this in my book, and I don't know if I really went as deep with it, but I had a revelation even long after writing about how I saw God. And I remember when God would say all the time when I would go in my prayer closet, trust me, trust me. And I would always think, I do trust you. Like, I trust you, God. And that would always be my word, trust me. And so, you know, after you get a little upset a little bit, like, okay, God, you keep telling me to trust you. I'm saying I'm trusting you. What is it that you're really saying to me? What God showed me in that was so eye-opening. It went so deep. It went so back far back to my childhood, I couldn't trust, he took it even to my husband. I couldn't trust my husband because I didn't trust a man in my life because I didn't have a father that I could trust. And now I saw God as being the same thing as, and this is a short version, y'all. I saw God as being in that same category, and I couldn't trust him. So again, going back to that superwoman complex, superwoman energy, I can do it all by myself. So I don't need him. I don't need it. And I'm like, but God, I do need you. He said, no, you don't need me. You don't need me because you don't trust me. Whenever you pray and you ask me for something, you go and do it. You go and do it. I was like,
yes, he's so loving though.
yes, he corrected me.
And the Father would love you and correct you.
Yes. And I was corrected in such a way that I felt the love.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I've been doing this. I had to go and apologize to my husband. Because I had to tell, I did not see, and it was hard. He was like, I am trying to provide. I am trying to do the things. And I saw it as, let me tell y'all what I saw it as. I saw it as abandonment. I saw it as a rejection of him not being there with me because he was out there trying to provide for the family. I saw it as him not really connecting with me.
Yes.
And it was because I had never connected with a man.
Yes.
In that capacity because I didn't have a father, a natural father.
Yeah.
And I wrote about it in my book. And what I found, and this is why I'm so big on identity, is that while I was out there trying to find myself and I was trying to find my biological father, I did all of the things. I think I talked about it before. But then when it came down to it, God told me, you don't have to define yourself in man's world. You're defined by what I call you.
Very good.
So when I started to see myself as God sees me, I was then is when I was like, I don't need a man, but it wasn't that I didn't need a man. I didn't need a father like that because I had a spiritual father.
Yes.
But all of that stemmed from not having a father around as a child.
Right.
And I knew it was a necessary part because I saw other people have it.
Wow.
And it was like, well, if they can have it, why can't I have it? So there must be something wrong with me because I don't have it. Mommy, daddy issues.
It runs deep.
It goes deep, so deep. I mean, even to the point as an adult, I could have never articulated that as a child. And so think about a kid who's going to church because now mama taking them to church and telling them, well, you could tell God anything. Well, how? How can I tell him everything when I don't even know how to talk to a man?
You can't see it.
Can't say it.
Listen, y'all it's like, this is deep.
Yes, and okay, part two, because we are not done.
We scratch the surface.
Oh my God. So y'all tune in to part 2. We're going to make sure we finish this up and wrap this up for you all in a way that it will be really edifying to you, that you would want to, or that you would be encouraged to change.
Yes.
How you view things, how you see yourself, and how you see your future. So again, don't forget, the only way you're going to be able to watch that part 2 if you subscribe and you hit that notification bell. Now you got to have that hit. So like this video, subscribe, share it too.
Yes.
Share it, y'all. Sharing is caring.
Yes.
We'll see y'all next time on Talk Therapy Heal.
Bye.
I too.